Welcome to the Puma Energy Terminal at Milford Haven. Maintaining a safe working environment for everyone working or visiting our site is a top priority for Puma Energy. We want all of our employees to be able to work in safe conditions. And we want our communities to benefit from our commitment to safer working practices. We store and transport oil products in all parts of the world, where regulatory oversight and rescue services are often lacking. We set our own standards, taking international best practice as a benchmark. At our Milford Haven terminal, we import, store and export crude oil, petrol, diesel, kerosene and heating oil. Originally, this facility was opened as an oil refinery in 1973, operated by Amoco Oil, and closed in 2014. Puma Energy took over ownership of the site in 2015 to operate as a hydrocarbon storage and distribution facility. The site is located 3.5 kilometers northwest of the town of Milford Haven and covers an area of 150 hectares, comprising a tank farm, jetty, road and rail loading facilities, and connection to an underground pipeline to a Midlands distribution network. We distribute products from here to inland terminals at Westerly, Thiel and Bedworth. There are 54 product storage tanks with capacities from 10,000 meters cubed to 80,000 meters cubed. Products stored and handled on this site include crude oil, petroleum products like gasolines, naphthas, kerosene, diesel, gas oils and heavy fuel oils. This is a busy site. We have a 24-hour, 7 days a week road loading operation from our 3 road loading stands. A busy rail loading operation, which exports white oils to our inland terminals. And a 3-berth jetty, which imports and exports products and is located approximately 3 kilometers south of the main site. Puma Energy is committed to the safe operation of all our facilities. So before you visit our site, you need some site information. A fuel storage terminal can be a hazardous place if the safety rules are not followed. That's why anyone visiting the terminal will receive a visitor safety induction and be accompanied at all times by a competent host. A host is a nominated Puma employee or individual nominated and trained by Puma, who is familiar with terminal hazards and procedures. A host can also include the foreman or supervisor of a company you're working for. Please inform your host if you have any illness or disability that we should be aware of. When you first arrive on site, have reported to the security main gate and been signed in,
I've been booked in for a safety induction.
You will undergo this visitor induction and be issued with a visitor pass like this. This pass allows entry to site through these turnstiles. Remember, this induction is strictly for visitors only and does not allow you to work on site. If you intend to work on site, you need to undertake the contractor's induction. Please note that the old Amoco refinery, which is located inside the Puma perimeter, is not part of the Puma site and must not, under any circumstances, be entered. Safety is a partnership between us, Puma, and you. Our part of the partnership is to provide you with a safe place to visit. Your part is to act responsibly and follow our rules and procedures. All visitors must sign in and out at the site entry point. Visitors must stay with their site host at all times and always be accompanied by a competent person. Drugs and alcohol are strictly prohibited on site, and random tests are regularly carried out. Visitors entering the main operational site must wear our minimum personal protective equipment requirements. We will cover this later. Please ensure all electronic devices are switched off prior to entering the terminal, and that they remain in your vehicle at all times. All mobile electronic devices like mobile phones, PDAs, tablets, laptops, smartwatches, iBands, or similar Bluetooth devices, etc., are not permitted onto operational areas of the terminal without the permission of your host, and not until a suitable safe system of work has been put in place. So if you do have electronic devices, switch them off and leave them inside your vehicle. Anything that has a potential to cause a spark or flame is prohibited on site. Matches, lighters, or battery-operated equipment, for example. Leave any of these items in your vehicle before entering. Be aware that everyone is potentially subject to search on entering or leaving the site. And that applies to any vehicle you use too. It's a condition of entry. Smoking on site is strictly forbidden. Smoking is only permitted in the designated smoking shelters. Your Puma host will advise you where these are situated. Do not touch anything without your host's permission, like valves or switches, for example. Vehicles on site are restricted to essential vehicles only, and entry to site is strictly controlled. You must only park in the designated car park. If you do have to park on site, reverse park, like this, and leave your keys in the ignition. This will make it easier to move your vehicle in an emergency. Taking pictures or video is strictly forbidden on site, unless you have express permission from the terminal manager. Naturally, the carrying of any offensive weapon on site is prohibited. Be aware of signage on site. Observe and comply with warnings and instructions at all times. And if using stairs, always use the handrails. It's part of our safety culture and really works to prevent falls. Report any accidents, incidents, near misses or hazards you identify immediately to your host or other competent person. Watch out for uneven or slippery surfaces and tripping hazards. When walking around site, be aware of vehicle movements, particularly in the road loading area, and keep away from locomotives and rail cars in the rail yard. Keep a safe distance. Rail cars can move very quietly. Remember our safety rules. Follow Puma safety procedures. Look out for the safety of others on site. Challenge unsafe practice or behavior. Always wear the appropriate PPE when on site. And report any incidents, accidents, near misses or hazards to your host. There are inevitably hazardous substances stored and distributed at the terminal. All the products we store here have health, safety or environmental risks attached to them. All petroleum products are either combustible, flammable or highly flammable. Some are also toxic and can be harmful to people and the environment. All can cause health problems through contact with skin or by inhalation, so exposure should be avoided, and where unavoidable, suitable handling precautions and appropriate PPE should be worn. Skin contact with petroleum products can cause irritation, rashes and long-term effects like dermatitis. Inhalation can cause breathing difficulties, nausea, headaches and drowsiness. So it's even more important that you wear the appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, when you are on site. So let's look at the minimum mandatory PPE you'll be required to wear when visiting our site. If you don't have your own PPE, we may be able to provide some. Our minimum mandatory PPE requirement is head protection to BS standard, safety lace-up boots. Rigger boots or wellies are not allowed. Flame retardant clothing and overalls, which must be long-sleeved and have reflective or high-vis strips. Eye protection like these safety glasses or goggles must be worn at all times on site, and in some high-noise areas specified by signs like these, hearing protection must be worn. If you are in any doubt about what type of PPE you should be wearing on site, your host will be able to guide you. The wearing of the correct PPE on sites like ours has been proven over many years to effectively reduce accidents and injuries in the workplace. That's why we insist that everyone complies with our PPE policy. See that you do too. After this induction, and before you enter the site, you'll be given a site map like this to help you navigate the site. The site map shows you where you can enter and leave the site, roads and speed limits, important items, muster points, and first aid points. If you see an accident, incident, near miss or potential problem, tell your Puma host or a member of the terminal staff immediately. In the event of a first aid injury, trained first aiders are available on site at all times. To allow us to fully investigate incidents on site, you must report all incidents, that is, any event that results in injury, harm or damage. All personal injuries, no matter how insignificant you think they are. All near misses, that is, an event that could have resulted in injury or damage sustained to plant, equipment or personnel. Hazard observations, any issue which could have a negative impact. Remember, all incidents, accidents and near misses must be reported to the terminal staff immediately. This will help us make the workplace safer for everyone. The emergency telephone number is 43444, and it is answered as a priority by the main gate security technician. The terminal's alarms are tested on the last Friday of every month at 12:30 hours, and the building alarms are tested every Friday at 13:30 hours. No action is required on your part at this time. If you hear these alarms at any other time, then this is what you need to do. Follow your host to your nearest muster point by the safest route, and be guided and advised by your Puma host. Swipe your site pass on the card reader located at the muster point. Remain at the muster point until you hear this all clear, or are given other instructions by a competent person at the muster point. Puma Energy is very conscious of the delicate balance that exists between our terminal and the local environment we operate in. We are committed to minimizing the impact of our operation on the environment. We take our responsibilities as a good neighbor very seriously and are determined to ensure that our excellent safety and environmental record is maintained. But we need your cooperation. If you are visiting the site, please follow all our site safety rules. Stay with your host at all times and be aware of the hazards present here. Thanks for watching this safety induction program. Please remember everything you have learned and have a safe visit.